Good day, everybody. I hope that you're well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 3 English lesson on future tense. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once you've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of English language arts. We're doing grade 3, and then we're going to scroll down up until we get to our chapter of future tense. All right, so our chapter is future tense. Our subject is English language arts. We're doing grade 3, and then the lessons that we are going to be focusing on under the chapter of future tense, and that is to change the sentence to future tense. So that is our lesson for today. We need to change the sentence to future tense. All right. So, firstly, when we talk about tenses, right, and then we talk about either it being in the present tense, it being in the past tense, or it being in the future tense. So, most times we've been making mention of past tense, regular past tense, irregular past tense, or even present tense. But now we're going to be making mention of future tense. And when it comes to our future tense, right, future tense tells about something that is going to happen. So, like we say, future tense, it tells about something that is going to happen. It did not happen yet, it is still going to happen. And in order for us to use the future tense, right, we will then have to add will before the base form of the verb. So before we write our verb, we need to then write down the word will. So it's like will and our verb, will and the action. And if we look at an example, right, of a sentence where we use future tense, and then it says he will walk to school. And if we look at this word walk, walk is our verb. That is our verb. So basically, we had to add will in front of that verb. He will walk to school. And once again, we have our future tense, and we see that future tense, it tells us about something that is going to happen. It is still going to happen. It didn't happen yet. And in order for us to form or to use the future tense, we need to add will. We need to add the word will in front of the verb or just before the verb. And that is to show the future tense. All right. And if we look at a few more examples of future tense, you need to keep in mind that with future tense, we need to add the word will. We need to every time add the word will, sorry, in front of or just before we get our verb. And if I'm gonna write down a sentence, right? And then you're gonna have to rewrite that sentence, but you need to rewrite it by almost like changing it to the future tense. So I'm gonna write down a, let's say a present tense sentence, and then you are going to then write it in the past tense. So now it says, I play I play tennis. So I play tennis. Play is our verb. How are we going to write this very same sentence but in the future tense? I play tennis. We need to write this very same sentence but in the future tense. Yes, we add the will before the verb. So that is why if we look at this, I play tennis, where are we going to add the will if we were to rewrite that sentence and change it to a future tense? Yes, and if we were to rewrite that sentence by changing it to the future tense, right? Like our present tense now is I play tennis. And if we were to write that and change it to the future tense, then we can say I will play tennis. Well done. So will is there. So well done. I will play tennis. And that is correct. That is how we change it from a present tense to a future tense. All right, I'm going to give you another sentence. You can say, I jump the fence. Or I jump over the fence. You say, I jump over the fence. So I jump over the fence. How are we going to write that within a few? How are we going to write that and change it to a future tense? So I jump over the fence. So I jump over the fence. How are we going to change that to the future tense? I jump over the fence. So we need to change that to the future tense. So I jump over the fence. How are we going to write that in the future tense? Remember, we add the word will in front of or just before our verb. Yes, and if we were to change the sentence to future tense from the present tense, and then we can say, I will jump over the fence. So well done. I will jump over the fence. Yes, well done. And remember, we add will in front of our verb. So well done. So I will jump over the fence. So well done. If we look at another example, right? Another sentence that is present tense, but you need to change it to the future tense. And that sentence is, can say we can say the boys dance for hours. So the boys dance for hours. How are we going to change that to the future tense? The boys dance for hours. So how are we going to write that in the future tense? The boys dance for hours. The boys dance for hours. We need to change that to the future tense. All right, yes. And if we were to change that present tense sentence of the boys dance for hours and we change it to the future tense, right? And then we say the boys will dance. And remember, we said the word will comes before our verb, will dance for hours. Yes, well done. So the boys will dance for hours, right? And this is basically our future tense, right? And the future tense, it tells us about something that is going to happen. Something that is going to happen. It did not happen as yet, it is going to happen. And we need to, when we, for example, write our future tense, and then we need to add the word will just before the base form of our verb, like we did over there. Will play, will jump, will dance, will bounce, will run, will listen, will share, and so on. But the word will comes before our verb within the sentence. All right. And remember, when it comes to the future tense, right? It is not stuff that happened already. It's not in the past. It is things that is still going to happen. It is the future. So whether the future is tomorrow, whether it is late tonight, whether it is next week, next year, right? It is still the future tense. It's in the future. All right. So we say that we add the word will in front of our verb, right? And that is to show or to basically, yes, it shows the future tense. It shows the future tense. All right. So he will walk to school. Will we add in front of our verb. So well done. All right. So now we're going to A plus students.ca. We're going to look at activity and then we're going to our test. All right. And once again, we see the future tense. It tells about something that is going to happen. And we need to use a verb in a future tense and then add will before the base form of the verb. All right. Here it says, I walk to school every Thursday. I walk to school every Thursday. How are we going to change that sentence to the future tense? All right. Remember, we said that we add the word will before our verbs. So now, if we look at this sentence here, the verb is even in bold. It says, "I walk to school every Thursday." That is now in the present. But how are we going to write that in the future tense? We need to write that in the future tense. All right. And yes, all we have to do is we need to say will walk. Because remember, we said we add the word will in front of our verb. So will walk, will talk. All right. So yes, we can say I. I'm gonna rewrite the sentence. I will walk to school every Thursday. So there we have the word will in front of our verb. So well done. All right. Let's go on to the next one. It says Martha and Bonnie divide the candy between themselves. All right. And it says Martha and Bonnie divide the candy between themselves. How are we going to change that sentence into a future tense? All right. So we can then say Martha and Bonnie, and we will add in front of this will divide the candy between themselves. Yes, well done. Will. So we say will divide, will sit, will sleep. All right, the next one says Roger and Alec make cards for their mother. All right. And it says that Martha and Bonnie will divide the candy between themselves. And if we look at the next one, Roger and Alec make cards for their mother. All right, so we can say Roger and Alec. Oopsie. We can say, yeah, I'm not going to write the whole sentence. I'm just going to put they will make cards for their mother. Will make, right? Will is basically just the word um that we add in front of the verb to show the future tense. All right. So now we're going on to, all right. So now we're going to change the sentences to future tense and we're going to our test. All right. So we can say Tess and Janelle build a model of the earth. But now, how are we going to write it in the future tense? Are we going to say Tess and Janelle build a model on the earth or will build? Option one or option two? All right. And then we will say will build. So Tess and Janelle will build a model of the earth. Well done. Will is correct. Option two. Well done. The boys feed the horses at their uncle's farm. The boys feed the horses at their uncle's farm. All right, so we can say, is it option one? We just say that the boys feed the horses at the uncle's funeral, or do we say option two, the boys will feed the horses at their uncle's funeral? All right, and then we will choose option two, which is the boys will feed the horses at their uncle's farm. So it's will. All right, so we can say will feed. All right, and will feed is correct. All right, it says Paula and Joel save the fossils of their classroom. All right, and we can say Paula and Joel save the fossils of the classroom. But if we write it in the future tense, we can say Paula and Joel will save the fossils for the classroom. So well done. Will is correct. Yes, option two. All right, so I walk to school every Thursday. And if you write that in the future tense, do we say I? Option one, walk to school, or option two, I will walk to school every Thursday. All right, so I said I walk to school every Thursday. That is something that I'm doing now, which is the present tense. All right, and we can then say I walk to school every Thursday. Or we can say I will walk to school every Thursday. All right. And we can then say, I will walk to school. I will walk to school. And remember, we still add the will in front of that verb. So well done. Yes, I will walk to school. The dogs escape through the open gate in the yard. How are we going to write that in the future tense? The dogs escape through the open gate in the yard. All right, so we can say the dogs escape through the open gate in the vineyard. We need to now write that in the future tense. Do we say escape, the dogs escape, or do we say the dogs will escape? This is the future tense. So the dogs escape or the dogs will escape. Which one is correct? Will escape or escape? All right, and we can say that the dogs escape, but if we look at our option, then we will choose option two, where we say the dogs will escape through the open gate in the yard. All right. So, lastly, like the last one is I escape through the open gate in the yard. Escape. So, we need to once again select the word will in front of that word. All right. And then lastly, we say that the dogs will escape through the open gate. Yes. Well done. Yes, option two is correct. Will escape, right? Because basically, the if we just say the dogs escape through the window, that is the present tense. All right. So we can say the dogs escape, and then we say the dogs will escape. Yes, well done. So will escape. All right. It says Martha and Bonnie. Do we say option one or option two? In this case, option one or option two? All right, and then it says they will, option one, divide the candy between themselves. All right, so this is now the end of our lesson on future tense, right? Remember, we said that we like things that we're doing now, right? Everything that we're doing now is in the present tense. Literally everything we do now is in the present tense. But now, in order for us to swap our sentence to a future tense sentence, we need to basically just add the word will in front of the verb. And that is to basically change it from a, basically to change it to future tense, from present tense to the future tense, right? And we made a few examples of sentences that was changed from the present tense to the future tense because we say that all we do is we add the word will. Will escape. All right. And we can say that in order for us to change the sentence to a future tense, and we're going to add the will in front of that word. Or let's say the will we're going to add in front of the verb. That's going to show the action. All right. So this is now the end of our lesson on future tense, right? Thank you very much for joining the class and for interacting. But this is not the end of our lessons. Thank you very, very much, grade threes. Right? Remember that we can change our sentences from present tense to the future tense. All right, and we will say that will, will. All right, so that is the end of our lesson. Till next time, goodbye. You should have a good weekend further. And thank you. Goodbye.